All right. Good morning, everyone. And
Morning.
welcome to our Monday motivation talk. We're really happy to have Sneakyway with us today. I don't know how many of you have met Sneakyway. She came to visit us a couple of years back, but possibly a lot of you were not yet with KFM. So I'll just ask you to just briefly introduce yourselves, just who you are, what you do at KFM before we start.
Morning, Sinikiwe, morning everyone. Kademaunga Ngoma, financial management consultant. Thank you.
Morning. Thank you, Sneaky, for joining us. My name is Michelle Gwati. I am marketing coordinator with KFM Consultants.
Okay, good morning, Sinikiwe. My name is Tafazo Kafesu, and I'm the executive assistant to Mr. Midzi and also the sustainability and governance consultant. Thank you.
Morning, Sinikiwe. I'm Pasmo Muringai. I'm the KFM accountant and administration.
Hey, Sinikiwe. My name is Tanyarazo Mtema, and I'm the project coordinator for Tugwi Trust.
Morning, Sinikiwe. My name is Linda Kalisto, and I'm a trainee financial management consultant.
All right. Okay. That's everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, that's everyone.
All right. So just a brief introduction about Sneakyway. So Sneakyway is a motivational speaker. She's a life coach. And then she was born different with a disability. It's called Melia. I think you'll have to help me with that pronunciation, Sneakyway. That means she was born with deformed limbs, and then she's short. I remember the first time I met Sneakyway, we made an appointment to meet in town. And I think I said to her, let's meet at the Meikles. She told me, I'm coming from Stingwiz. I'm going to drop off in town from the combis, and then I'll walk to the Meikles. And so I think I had no perception of what it meant for her to walk from where she dropped off at what you call that, police headquarters, to get to the Meikles. And I think when I saw it, that's when I then realized just, how difficult it must be for her to move around. And we've just been assuming it's not a problem to get to Meikles, but I think it was a bigger challenge than we expected. And I think for me, that was just a reality check about Sinikiwe. So Sneakyway, welcome. And what we do is every Monday, we just start the week off with some motivational speaking. We've been doing it ourselves, but we've decided maybe it'll be good to get external people to come in and speak to us. And so we're really excited that you were able to be able to join us. It's for 30 minutes. So I think we'll just go straight into it. I'll just ask you a series of questions to just guide you. And maybe you can just start by telling us about what it is you're doing right now, Sneaky. I know I said you're a motivational speaker and a coach, but maybe you can put that into a little bit more perspective in terms of what is Sneakyway all about at the moment.
But I've never practiced as a social worker, because when I finished my degree in 2017 and I came back to Zimbabwe, I started looking for jobs, but to no avail. So I just thought to myself, what else can I do? That's when I went for a life coaching training. And from there, yeah, now I'm like a full-time life coaching, mostly focusing on confidence building because I'm so passionate about people's confidence, building people's confidence. Because I believe that when someone is confident, they can conquer the world, they can do anything when someone is really confident about themselves. So yes, and I'm also a motivator. I don't like the word motivational. I'm a transformational speaker because I love to speak to transform people's lives, not just to motivate, because motivation is just like short term, but I love to transform people's mindsets, to transform people's lives. So yes. And I'm also on the side, I'm also like a YouTube content creator. I love sharing my story with people. I love sharing my life. And it started, I think, about 3, 4 years back, because I used to get a lot of questions from people asking me, so Sneakyway, how do you write? How do you eat? How do you wash your body? How do you do, like, a lot of questions that I would get on a daily basis. So I just decided that let me create like a platform where I just show people my day-to-day life, and maybe motivate someone. So I started as a blog, which is called Life in the Shoes of a Short Girl, um, which I'm no longer like really active on the blog now. Now I'm focusing more on YouTube. So that's where I'm creating content, sharing my life with people. So it's a lifestyle YouTube channel. So yes, that's basically what I'm currently doing.
Okay. All right. That's exciting. I like that. Not motivational speaker, but transformational speaker. Yeah, that's good. Here we're all about transforming lives at Tugwi and KFM. So I think we can really relate. But let's go back. So maybe just take us back to where you were born, how your early life was, and maybe through to primary school as well. If you can take us through all that as well.
Okay. I was born with a disability. Yes, back in 1993. That's when I was born. I was born with a disability. And you know, with our African culture, our Zimbabwean culture, disability was something that was perceived to be negative, to be so like bad. It was considered to be punishment from the gods, or the mother should have done something wrong. That's why they've given birth to a child with a disability. And that was the case in my family. And my mother was, and you know, women were always to be blamed. Whenever there's something wrong that is happening in the family, the woman was always the one who was blamed. And my mother was, yes, it was a taboo. So my mother was the one who was blamed, and she went into depression. She was not really well. So until my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, she decided that, okay, let me take this child, let me raise this child. And my grandmother was such a very strong woman. Up to now, I've never seen a strong woman like my grandmother. She really believed in me. She raised me like any other child. She never saw my disability. She never treated me any different or in any special way. I also used to do the chores. You know, in our African homes, parents are really strict. If you don't wash the dishes, you are beaten. If you don't do anything that they tell you to do, you are beaten. That's exactly how my grandmother, how she used to do things. But and I grew up in a very loving home. Financially, we're not really that well, but I grew up in a very loving home. My grandmother was so nice and loving. But the community is a way of always reminding you that you have a disability. Because in my home, my like everything was normal for me. I even forgot that I had a disability, because she made everything comfortable for me to make sure that I'm also independent in the house. But when I go out, maybe in the community to play with other kids, and when I used to go to kindergarten, like I would see really realize that I was different, and which is something that really like affected me as well. But because when I go back home, I used to have such a loving environment, so I wasn't really like affected so bad. But sometimes I would also get other kids who want to bully me and all that. But I grew up this defensive mechanism where I was really, what can I say? I was the one who was bullying others. Like I used to beat others at school because I felt that was my defensive mechanism. Even when I see someone laughing, I'll just think they are laughing at me, and then I'll get into this defensive mode where I'm just so violent. But my education, my primary school, it was really okay because I was now at JRSG primary school where, you know, JRSG is just children with disabilities. So we're just the same. And I think being a JRSG, it also helped me to realize that I'm not the only one with a disability, because in my community, I was the only one with a disability. And I thought I was the only person with a disability in the world. But when I went to JRG, it really changed my mindset. It changed my perspective. So yeah, that's just basically my primary and like childhood experience.
Okay, do you remember any of your primary school teachers? Were there any favorite teachers that you still remember?
Oh yes, I remember my primary school teachers. I think my favorite primary school teacher was called Mr. Matika. She was the one who taught me from grade 1 up to grade 2. But my worst primary school teacher was the one who taught me when I was in grade 6. That man used to beat me a lot. Whatever, maybe if I get like a 9 out of 10, you just, hey, that man was really too hard on me, because it was like, Sneakyway, you're too playful, blah, blah, blah. But I need you to like, to be straight and know what you're doing. So that man used to beat me a lot. And that was my worst experience.
And then after primary school, where did you go for high school, and how was that experience?
For my high school, I went to St. Faith's High School, which is a boys' high school, and I was staying in JRSG. My experience at St. Faith's, honestly, I think it was the worst. It was just the worst experience ever, because it was at a boys' high school, and I lost my grandmother when I was in Form 1, and my whole life changed. My confidence was really low, because now at this point I didn't have anyone who was cheering me up, anyone who was telling me to be strong and all that. So it really affected me, like academically, and even the loss of my grandmother also affected me. So when I was, I think, around form 3, yeah, up to like Form 6, my confidence was like on 0 or even on minus, because I just used to get into class and then I'll sit at the back. The other thing that really affected me was I was now like in my teenage years, and it was like adolescent years. And you know, when you're like in your adolescent years, you're at a boys' high school, everyone is checking out who is the hottest girl in class, who is the most beautiful girl like at school and all that. And for me, because of my disability, I just felt that I didn't belong to be in certain spaces. I just felt so ugly. I just felt so negative about myself, and I hated my body so much. So it really affected me. It even affected like me academically. But I worked so hard. One thing that kept me going was, when I was young, my grandmother used to tell me that, Sneakyway, I want you to be a lawyer. So that's one thing that really kept me going, because I just told myself that I need to keep my grandmother's dream alive. So I should work hard. So yeah, I think that's the only thing that kept me going. But I can say that my high school was just the worst 6 years of my life.
All right. So what would you do when it came to things like sports, extracurricular activities? Would you get involved at all?
I think at some point I was involved in Interact Club. So Interact Club is where you do a lot of charity work in the community. But then I think I just did that for like a term, and then I stopped, because as Interact Club, we used to like travel to children's homes, to other schools and different communities. And for me, I would get very uncomfortable whenever we go to like a community and people are just staring at me, or we go to a school, like I just get so uncomfortable. So I stopped.
Yeah. And at that stage, what was your dream? What did you want to become when you grew up? The lawyer that your grandmother wanted to, or did you have other things that you aspired for as well?
At that stage, I really wanted to be a lawyer, honestly. I really wanted to be a lawyer. And because I was doing art subjects, you know, when you're in art subjects, everyone wants to be a lawyer because that's the cool job of someone who's doing art. Everyone wants to be a lawyer. So I really wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay, so how did you do? What happened then? Did you make it to do law? How did you perform at school?
So my A-level results were I was really disappointed with my A-level results because they were told that for you to be a lawyer, you need to have 14 points. And for me, I had 10 points. So I was like, And then when I went to like apply in the local universities, the programs that they were giving me, I was like, no. And also the other thing, I was like, I really want to go outside of STEM and study outside of STEM because I want to have a new experience. I want to see life from a different perspective. So I started applying like different universities, America, UK, and South Africa was also on the list. So when I applied to South Africa, my first priority was law. I don't know why I was so confident that I would study law at 10 points, but my first priority was law. And then I saw a scholarship like in the newspaper and I decided to apply. But the scholarship was specifically for students who wanted to study social work. So that's how I ended up landing into social work. And I got to love it as I proceeded with my studies.
Okay. So you went to Cape Town, isn't it? University.
Yes, I was at Cape Town.
How was that experience? And was it any different from how you were treated in Zimbabwe in Cape Town?
Wow. I think when I was at UCT, that was the most beautiful experience ever in my life because I remember when I was applying, when I was still in Zimbabwe, when I was applying, they used to ask me all these questions that what is your disability? Do you need like a PA? Do you need all these things? And I was just like, wow, these guys. So when I finally went to UCT, I was treated like, I don't know, like a baby or something. They made sure that I was so independent and they made sure that my environment was so comfortable that the only thing that I would just focus on was my studies. Because I remember when I landed at the airport, there was someone waiting for me. I was taken from the airport. And when I went into my room, because at UCT, everyone has their own room, like we don't share rooms. So when I went, and that was one thing that I was really scared because I was like, if I'm going to be alone in my room, am I going to manage? But when I went into that room, everything was just to my level, the door handles, the light switch, like everything was just okay. And then they came and they even asked me, Kuti, what else can we do for you just to make that everything is like really comfortable? And I remember there was a bus that used to come and pick me from like the door of my res to the door of my first lecture room, and they'll come and pick me when I finished my lectures for the day. Everything was just really comfortable, to be honest, and that was the best experience in my life. And I remember just asking myself that there are some things that I thought were not really necessary when I was in Zimbabwe, but when I went to Cape Town, I just saw that those things like are really like a need, and it also opened my view when it comes to disability and how people with disability should be treated. Because here in Zimbabwe, honestly, like I never received any special treatment in courts, special treatment, or they never went like an extra mile to make sure that I'm comfortable, I'm independent. Because I remember when I was in high school, I used to walk like 1.5 kilometer to school and another 1.5 kilometer coming back. So that's like 3 kilometers. And by the time you get into class, you're already tired. You're not even focusing, But at UCT, I had the best experience of my life.
Fantastic. So at university is the time that many people start dating. Was that the same for you?
I actually started dating, okay, when I was in Form 2, but honestly, like I can't even say I was dating because I didn't even understand what I was doing. It wasn't, yeah. But I think like really dating when I was a bit mature, I was like in Form 4. That's when I was in Form 4.
All right.
When
So
I
you've
went to,
been, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
oh, I was saying when I went to university, I was now a bit matured and all, but it also, the experience also helped me to realize like what I wanted as a person, as Sneakyway, and it also helped me to really value myself. Because I think like Kumashiro talk, I'll just date just to prove a point to people that as a person with a disability, I can date, I can do this. But when I was in university, it was a whole new experience. It really helped me to value myself and to really love myself and to not tolerate anything from anyone.
Okay, fantastic. So now that you finished varsity, you're now a motivational speaker. What are your aspirations? What are you looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to take this whole confidence building session to the next level. And I just pray that in the future, God willingly, I'm going to have like a school where people come and we train people in different aspects to do with confidence building, self-love, self-esteem, public speaking, and anything to do with the self, because confidence building is where my heart is. And then as a motivational speaker, I see myself traveling the world, transforming people's lives. And
Yeah. Where have you traveled to? Have you traveled besides Cape Town? Where else have you been outside Zimbabwe?
I went to Malawi. I went to Zambia. And then last year I went to India to receive an award.
Okay, what was the award for? What award did you receive?
Oh, the award is called Pioneering Women Leader. So this is so the awards were just for women all over the world, like all four corners of the world, who are doing great things in their communities, who are changing lives. So yeah, that was the award.
Oh, fantastic. That's good. Any favorite sayings that you have?
Oh, my favorite saying is be the change that you want to see in the world.
Okay. And when you look back, if you had a chance to do it all over again, is there anything you would do different?
Sorry?
With where you are now, if you were to go back to school, to university, what would you do different?
I think if I go back, I would love to go back to my high school experience, and I'll just live my life without any apology to anyone. I'll just love myself. I'll explore, and yeah, I would love to go back to my high school experience and just be myself, not worrying about what people think about me, and just love myself for like who I am.
Okay. And advice to any children that might be different, who are born different, any people who maybe have disabilities, what advice would you have for them?
My advice to them is explore, live life to the fullest, be yourself, never be apologetic about who you are, because you are magic, you are everything. Disability, like a physical disability, this is just a package, but the most important thing is like who you are internally, and you have everything that you need for you to be the best version of yourself. You have the brains, you have everything that you need. Just live your life, just explore and be the best version of yourself.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll open it up to everyone else now. Guys, if you have any questions for Sneakyway, please go ahead and ask. If you want to put in the chat box, if you want to ask, you can speak out as well.
Okay, Sinikiwe, I really loved the way you explained about your experience at UCT. And I just wanted to ask, what transformational message would you have for students here in Zimbabwe, especially in the universities? What transformational lesson can they learn from your experience in South Africa in terms of how they have to treat students living with disability?
Okay. I think my message to like other students here in Zimbabwe is, when you see other students or when you see people with disabilities, just treat them as who they are. Don't look at their disability, especially maybe when they're in universities. Never look down upon them. They are there because they deserve to be there. They are there because they've really worked hard to be there. And just make sure that you may also make their life comfortable and view everyone like on the same level. Never look down upon anyone. And also be helpful. Ask if you can help. If they need any help, ask if you can help. And be comfortable around people with disabilities, because I've seen that a lot of people are not really comfortable around people with disabilities. But be comfortable, ask questions, explore, try to learn more, and yeah, and just be a family.
Okay, thank you, Sneaker. Very inspiring.
Oh, thank you.
Hi,
Okay.
Sneakyway.
Maybe
Okay,
Michelle
you can
can go
go.
ahead.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to give kisses, hugs, my all to grandma. I think I had a really great grandma. My question is around your solace. Before grandma passed, she was your focal point. She was your solace. After that, what did you find solace in, or what kept you going? What was your go-to point? And are you religious? Do you pray? Did you find it easy to pray during those times? Yeah.
Okay. So when my grandmother passed, I was really affected. I even tried to commit suicide twice because there was no one in my family who I had a relationship with. I didn't have a relationship with my siblings, with my uncles and aunts. Like it was just a lot. But one thing that really kept me going, like I said, my grandmother's dream of me becoming a lawyer, and also God, like praying to God. I also found comfort in that. And another thing is, like I said, Guti, be the change that you want to see in the world. So for me, when I looked around me, the only people that I saw with disabilities were people begging in the streets, people with disabilities who were not like, who were being looked down upon. So for me, I told myself that I really need to change that. For me, my life is not going to be like that. And I knew that for me to have the life that I wanted to have, I had to work hard and focus on my studies. So I think that's the only things that kept me going. But emotionally, I was really affected, to be honest. I was just living life, but I was really, emotionally, I was broken. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. You're a very strong woman.
Thank you.
Kuda?
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Miz. Thank you, Sinikiwe, for sharing your story with us this morning. I think part of what I wanted to ask is what Michelle has already asked on what really kept you going. And then I just want to know also from your viewpoint, at this time, what would be the most needful thing for the disabled community in Zimbabwe? Like you have been exposed to other different societies. You've been in South Africa, how they treat the community of people living with disabilities. What would you think is the most needful thing that we need to do in Zimbabwe so that we can better help and coexist with the people living with disabilities?
Okay. In Zimbabwe, I think we are really lacking inclusion. I think that's the most need that we need in Zimbabwe. We need to include people with disabilities a lot more in different programs, because you can see that sometimes the only thing that is like really excluding people with disabilities to do certain things is accessibility. So, for example, when you get to a bank, someone is in a wheelchair, there's no ramp, only stairs, and that person is already excluded. When you go to a clinic, there's someone who is deaf, and when they get to the hospital, there's no one there who can do like sign language. So you see that person is already excluded. Let's go to maybe to like to court or anywhere where people are being given maybe flyers, and people are getting information, and there's nothing in braille. Someone who is blind is already excluded. So let's try as much as possible to have people with disabilities in mind. So whenever you do maybe a workshop or in your organizations, in your companies, always have to think, how can we include people with disabilities so that they can also contribute to the growth of the country, growth of the economy. So inclusion is really needed in Zimbabwe.
All right. Thank you so much. Then I think my second question would be any. We are now in 2021. It's been almost a year living in ever since the COVID-19 pandemic started here in Zimbabwe. So I just want to know from your perspective, how has COVID-19 changed your world or the world of people living with disabilities? What has been the major impact brought in by COVID-19?
So the major impact that is affected people with disabilities with the COVID-19, firstly, economically, just like anyone else.
Yeah.
Yes, because if you see that most people with disabilities, you see them maybe in the streets, vending and all that, and the lockdown is just limited all that. So economically, people have been affected, and also health-wise as well, people have been affected, because if you look like most local clinics, some of them they are closed, and there are people with disabilities who need to go maybe for regular checks, and they cannot access that. And even the issue of transport as well, they cannot like move around to access healthcare systems. They cannot move around to access whatever that they want to access. So economically, health-wise, even socially as well, people with disability have been affected. So if you look, we are talking about social distancing, but there are some people with disabilities who cannot social distance because they need help. So for example, someone who is blind, they need to walk around with someone, and that person cannot social distance, which means they are really at a high risk of this whole pandemic. So yeah, those are some of the challenges that people with disabilities are facing in this pandemic.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sinikiwe. I read.
Okay, Sneakyway, there's a question in the chat box from Tanya there. Can you please share some of the dating challenges you face? Are there social ills that need to be improved in terms of how dating and marriage is viewed in the African society?
Okay. When it comes to dating, wow, that's a whole like experience. I think firstly is like our society as well. They don't see like people with disabilities as like potential, I don't know, partners or anything like that. Because people, so if you look at it like our culture, it says when you marry like in the family, you have married for the whole family. That's that's what we believe in is like Zimbabwean. But you see that when someone, maybe like a guy without a disability, when they are dating someone with a disability, taking that lady into their family, it can be a challenge because now people are thinking, so who's going to like perform the Makoti duties? Who's going to fetch water for us, to fetch firewood for us? So sometimes the two people like who are dating, they can be okay, they can be fine, but our society is not really accepted people with disabilities to be potential partners. And it can also be the opposite. For example, someone, maybe a girl without a disability dating a guy with a disability, people are always quick to say, oh, she's in it for the money. But sometimes it's not even about the money. There are people, two people who are just in love and who are loving each other. Yeah, and sometimes also another dating challenge is people feel the need to date people with disabilities just for like experimenting or just to prove a point, or yeah. So dating with a disability is really, really a challenge, and it's very difficult to find someone who is like genuinely in love and someone with genuine intentions. A lot of people, they have their own intentions when it comes to dating.
Yeah, so because I follow you on social media, Sneaky, I've seen all these videos of you zip lining, and I don't know if it was bungee jumping. Are you freely speaking about your relationship and your partner yet, or is that something you don't talk about much?
Okay. About my relationship, it's something that I mention here and there in passing, but it's not really like um not really like maybe like the way I always talk about other issues on social media. So the reason why I've just decided that I'm not going to talk like more on my relationship, I don't know, the internet can be very harsh sometimes. So that's why I haven't talked about, but it's not like I cannot talk about it at all. No, if I get questions, I really respond, or sometimes I even mention it like in passing and here and there. But I've just decided I'm not going to bombard people about my relationship and just throw it into people's faces. No.
Okay, it's good to see you're glowing. So I think it's going well there.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're going to wrap it up now. Any messages for the KFM team, Sinikiwe? You know, it's not an easy environment right now. As a team, we're trying our best to achieve our goals and targets that we've set ourselves. Do you have any advice for us on how we can perform as a team or how we can achieve our best?
Wow. My advice to the KFM team is you guys stay focused. You are the example that you want to see in the world. So always have that in mind. If you want to see a world, a transformed world, it has to start with you, because you don't expect someone else to transform the world whilst you're just sitting there. So always make sure that you are focused, you are doing your best, and you guys are actually doing a great job, and continue working hard. And we really want to see you transforming the world and transforming people's lives. So yeah, stay focused.
Okay, thanks. I think Linda's
Come
message there.
soon.
Okay. Linda had shared something in the chat there. Sorry, she said, thank you for sharing Sneakyway and using your experiences to build others. You are a strong woman. From my point of view, you are really living your purpose. Keep it up. And Tanya said she also wanted to mention the glow. So it's not only me that saw the glow. So
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
So thank you very much, Sneakyway, for starting off our week on a very positive note, positive, inspirational note. One thing I wanted to ask or to mention to everyone. So it's amazing how Sneakyway can virtually do everything or anything. I don't think I spent quite a lot of time with Sneakyway a couple of years back. And I'd always want to do things for her, but she does everything herself. Whether it's the cooking, whether it's the eating, whether when we're traveling, her makeup, everything, she's not really needing any help. And I found that really inspirational. And I think as well, we didn't ask, but at school, we take some things for granted, but it meant Sneaky was able to write like everyone else, to sit exams and write like everyone else. And I think for me that's such inspirational, because it means you can do whatever you set your mind to do, no matter what disability you have or what's hindering you. If you set your mind to it, you can really then achieve it. And I learned this from Sinikiwe as well. So thank you, Sinikiwe. If there's no other question from anyone else, Michelle, maybe you can wrap it up for us.
Thank you, Mr. K, for managing to get Sneakyway to talk to us. Sneakyway, I'd like to thank you for your time. Time is very important, and also being free enough to share your story. It's brave. You'll find it's not a lot of people who can stand up and say, okay, guys, this is my story. This is where I'm coming from. This is where I'm going. Like you mentioned earlier, the internet is very cruel. And just for you to be brave enough to share your story, I really appreciate that. I think for the rest of the team as well, we really appreciate that. And thank you very much for standing up for yourself, because right now someone else will be watching this and they will think, okay, so if Sneakyway got through all these years with her disability, then definitely my disability cannot hinder me from doing anything. So yes, I wish you a lot of success. I wish you so many years to come, so that you can keep inspiring, especially young children. I think at a tender age, I can just imagine it's hard enough for a person without a disability to start school. So I hope that you will be able to continue on this journey and assisting a lot of people. Yes, I think a lot of people may not say it, but we really do appreciate people with your strength, people with your voice, and people with your might in our society. It really does bring an awakening. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
All right, Sneakyway, have a great week, and we'll be in touch. And guys, you can follow her she's all over social media. She said you'll find her on Twitter, you'll find her on Instagram, you'll find her on LinkedIn, you'll find her on Facebook. So yeah, please, let's follow her. Lots of inspirational stuff on her platforms for us to follow. So thank you, Sneakyway.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye.
Bye.